Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladevaya, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Jaya Vishnupad, Paramahansa Parivrajikacharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, C.C. Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi ki Jai, Srishi Gaunitai ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi. Oh, glorious the sum of devotees. Oh, glorious the sum of devotees. Oh, glorious the sum of devotees. Oh, glorious to Sri Guru and Garanga. Glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4. Chapter, what chapter is it? Chapter, Canto 4, Chapter 12, Text 48. Prayata kirtayet prataha samaveyudvijanmanam samavayedvijanmanam Sayam cha punya shlokasya Dhruvasya charitam mahat Prayata kirtayet prataha Samavayed vijanmanam Sayam cha punya shlokasya Dhruvasya charitam mahat Prayata kirtayet prataha Samavayed vijanmanam Sayam cha punya shlokasya Dhruvasya charitam mahat Vaishnavis. prataha samavayed vijanmanam samavayed vijanmasya Dhruvasya charitam maha Yata kirtayet prataha Samavayed vijanmanam Sayam cha punya slokasya Dhruvasya charitam maha Prayata with great care Kirtayet one should chant Prataha in the morning Samavaye in the association Dvijanmanam of the twice born Sayam in the evening Cha also Punya Shlokasya of sacred renown Dhruvasya of Dhruva Charitam character Mahat great. Translation: the great sage Maitreya recommended one should chant of the character and activities of Dhruva Maharaj both in the morning and in the evening with great attention and care in a society of brahmanas or other twice born persons. Purport: it is said that only in the association of devotees can one understand the importance of the character and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotees. In this verse, it is especially recommended that Dhruva Maharaj's character be discussed in a society of the twice-born, which refers to the qualified Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. One should especially seek the society of Brahmanas who were elevated to the position of Vaishnavas. Thus, discussion of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes the character and pastimes of devotees and the Lord, is very quickly effective. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been organized for this purpose. In every center of this society, not only in the morning, evening or noon, but practically 24 hours a day, there is continuous devotional service going on. Anyone who comes in contact with the society automatically becomes a devotee. We have actual experience that many karmis and others come to the society and find a very pleasing and peaceful atmosphere in the temples of ISKCON. In this verse, the word Dvijanmanam means of the twice-born. Anyone can join the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and be initiated to become twice-born, as recommended by Sanatana Goswami. By the process of initiation and authorized training, any man can become twice born. The first birth is made possible by the parents. The second birth is made possible by the spiritual father and Vedic knowledge. Unless one is twice born, one cannot understand the transcendental characteristics of the Lord and his devotees. Study of the Vedas is therefore forbidden for Sudras. Simply by academic qualifications, a Sudra cannot understand the transcendental science. At the present moment, throughout the entire world, the educational system is geared to produce Sudras. A big technologist is no more than a big Sudra. Kalo Sudra Sambhava. In the age of Kali, everyone is a Sudra. Because the whole population of the world consists only of Sudras, there is a decline of spiritual knowledge and people are unhappy. The Krishna consciousness movement has been started especially to create qualified brahmanas to broadcast spiritual knowledge all over the world, for thus people may become very happy. Prayata kirtayet prataha sama vaye dvijanmanam shayam chapunya shlokasya dhruvasya charitam mahat. The great sage Maitreya recommended one should chant of the character and activities of Dhruva Maharaj both in the morning and in the evening with great attention and care in a society of brahmanas or other twice-born persons. So in this particular section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the greatness of Dhruva Maharaj is discussed, and the result of Dhruva Maharaj's performance of his devotional service plus his performance as duties as king is especially described, and the whole previous chapters, of course, we read how Dhruva Maharaj went to the forest and wanted to get a kingdom greater than the father, greater than his father, greater than even Lord Brahma. But then Narad Muni came there and gave him the mantra as we just chanted, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You chant like that. And the Lord appeared before him. Later, of course, he went and followed Narad Muni's instructions. I believe he went to the banks of the Jamuna and Narad gave him specific instructions how to worship the form of the Lord by offering puja and so many things. So Dhruva Maharaj followed that even as a young boy and was able to become a great devotee by the mercy of Narad Muni, his spiritual master, by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He didn't even want to have the kingdom of his father anymore. But nevertheless, he attained that kingdom. He was the eldest son, and he ruled over the world. From what I understand, Dhruva Maharaj was ruling on earth, and there was many stories of his rule. Now he is retired, and he's gone to the Badrik Ashram. Badrik Ashram is a very great place in the Himalayas. Many of you may have gone there. I've been a few times there. Very a wonderful place to go there. And so he's done his tapasya, he's done his meditation, and finally the Vishnu Dutas, the servants of Lord Vishnu, have come to take him back home, back to Godhead. Of course, he wanted to take his mother with him, Suniti. So that was also arranged. We can see that by the mercy of a devotee, so many people have benefited, the mother and the father and the children and so many relatives. It's all benefit if one becomes a great devotee. So Dhruva Maharaj had attained greatness, and as we read previously, he was going to the Vishnu Loka within this material universe, and where Lord Vishnu resides, the Shishumara, and there on that planet, Lord he resides on the Svetadvipa, and but Dhruva Maharaj became the ruler of that kingdom. So it is a Vaikuntha within this world, and when all is destroyed, of course, any Vaikuntha, the Lord, that is not destroyed. So Dhruva Maharaj attained such a high perfection, even though initially his desire was materialistic, of kingdom greater than the Father, but by the mercy of his Guru and Krishna, that desire was purified, and then being purified, he changed his whole life around. Sometimes we come to the Krishna consciousness, mainly we come to the Krishna consciousness because we want to engage in devotional service, but we come also with many materialistic desires from our previous life. And I remember one godbrother asked Prabhupada in Melbourne when he was there, why is it seen that devotees come, Prabhupada, but sometimes they go back to the materialistic life. And Prabhupada said this is because of the bad habits from before. And one has started to contemplate these again, and these desires have overcome these devotees, and they again go back to this type of lifestyle. But if one has to be very careful, and Prabhupada said, therefore I'm training everyone to become from the bad habits to the good habits in the Krishna consciousness, how to do things nicely in Krishna's service. So we are very affected by our former lifestyle, but if we come and we stick to everything very nicely and be careful about contemplating our previous lifestyle and maybe desiring to enjoy those very things that we became tired of, and we left, and then we came. But then again, we are desiring to go back, or perhaps while we're prosecuting our devotional service, we are inattentive in our chanting, and of course these things can give rise to contemplating the previous lifestyle. We're inattentive in our chanting. We're not associating with devotees very nicely. So one has to be careful, especially mentioned by the acharyas, different types of aparads we need to be mindful of. Nam aparad, offenses in our chanting, and seva aparad in our service, we can be offensive. Seva aparad, sometimes conscious and sometimes even unconscious because we're immature. We didn't know maybe this thing was not good, but we did it. So therefore, we have to associate with devotees, especially more senior devotees. They can train us to be mindful. And seva aparad, nam aparad, of course, Vaishnava aparad. We can be offensive to the Vaishnavas, and of course this is not very pleasing to Srimati Radharani, not very pleasing to Krishna. And so we get reactions for that, and of course Guru aparad. So these things are not advantageous and can lead to devastating effects, can give rise to material desires coming up again, and they can become so strong we again go back to that lifestyle. Although the Krishna consciousness is never lost. That in the Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami gives the example of the waxing and the waning moon. When we come to the Krishna consciousness, the moon of our devotional service waxes, but if we commit offences or inattentive, then it wanes again. The moon is always there. In other words, the devotional service that has been performed is always there, even from the previous life. But at the moment, it may be waned. You can't see it. It becomes the dark moon. But again, it can become a waning, rather waxing, and come up very bright and shining very bright. So we want to be very bright and shining, shine like shining moons in our Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada, one time he arrived in Melbourne, and when we came back to the temple, we had a big kirtan. He was sitting on the Vyasasana, and then after, he said, I can tell things are going on nicely in the Krishna consciousness here because everyone is dancing and chanting in ecstasy, and they look very bright and enthusiastic in their Krishna consciousness. So we can see the bright faces. And Prabhupada was always encouraged to see the bright faces of his devotees that showed their enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness. So Dhruva Maharaj very nicely had attained this perfection. And so Maitreya Muni, he's saying here that if one remembers these activities, and it's very nice that we have these types of pastimes recorded in the Srimad Bhagavatam. They are recorded. Anyone who hears this narration of Dhruva Maharaj acquires exalted qualities like him. And even Maitreya goes on to say that anyone who desires greatness, prowess, or influence, here is the process by which to acquire them. So Maitreya Muni is saying if you're after adoration, if you're after power or greatness, see what Dhruva Maharaj did. So this is on a more like a lower level. It's not that a devotee desires greatness. I want to be the best devotee. I remember one new devotee joined up, and after a little while he said, I just want to be the biggest devotee. I want to be the greatest devotee. So a devotee doesn't aspire to be the greatest. And actually I remember that one of my godbrothers, he was walking with Prabhupada, and he was going on, Prabhupada, I'm the greatest offender, I'm the greatest this, and Prabhupada stopped him and he said, no, you're not the greatest anything. The greatest is Krishna. He is the greatest. You are not the greatest. Even if you want to think yourself bad, you may think you're very greatly bad, but actually you're not very greatly bad. Actually, Krishna is great. He's all greatly good. And because he's greatly good, he can bring your bad to the good. So we have this false ego, mahankara, that we think even in bad things we're very great at them. You know, just like the world's dictators and tyrants, they revel in their badness. They are killing so many people, and they feel pleasure, a perverted pleasure from that. They think, I am the greatest. And sometimes you read about these murderers, they committed so many murders, and they wanted to be known as the person who committed the most murders. So people can be like that. That is their hankara, but in the other way. Generally, people want to be great in a good way, and they want to be great. Here it is meant. You want to be great. You don't want to be in a great family. And some people can be the opposite. No, my family's bad. I've got the baddest family. I've got the worst family. And they kind of get some sort of gratification about saying that over and over again. My family is more worse than your family. And so, again, it's a hankara, but in the opposite direction. All these things are hankara. The worst or the best. So one can desire great family. One can desire a lot of money, wealth. And generally, people want these things: good family. They want a lot of wealth. They want high education. They want beauty and to be handsome, or they want all these things combined together. And so here, Maitreya Muni is going so far as to say, if you want that, just follow how Dhruva Maharaj did things. Just follow how Dhruva Maharaj did things, because he became a devotee. And it's not that the devotees want these, that they shouldn't actually want these things. But, and Dhruva Maharaj attained these things. He didn't, in the beginning he wanted like that. He wanted a kingdom greater than his father. He wanted to be the best, the biggest king of the universe. So in the beginning, but later on, he became a humble devotee. And these things followed him. And there's a difference. The devotee it remains very, very humble. We have our examples of like our acharyas. Raghunath Das Goswami was just recently his appearance or disappearance, I forget, but I was speaking about Raghunath Das Goswami, and one of the qualities was that he was so humble that he would offer obeisances to 2,000 Vaishnavas every day. Every day, he would make sure he was offering his obeisances. And one devotee in Wellington, I think, he was asking me a question about how to become humble. I said, Prabhupada gives us, and the Shastras and Acharyas give us many ways to become humble. And I gave the example of Raghunath Das Goswami. He was offering obeisances. Generally, we want to be served. We want to be the center. But just make Krishna the center, make the devotees the center. You want to serve them. Be very humble. And so we offer Raghunath Das Goswami. He was doing a Govardhan Parikram Dandavat. I said, you want to become humble? Go to Govardhan in Vrindavan, do Dandavat Parikram. You know what a Dandavat Parikram? You go flat, and then then you start there, and you go right around Govardhan Hill. I said, this will make you very humble to do like that. Or to serve the devotees, do the menial activities. Sweeping the temple, mopping the temple, just like we in the Rath Yatra, King Prataparudra is very famous. He took the broom. He was the king of the Puri, the king of the Somani area, but he took the broom and he swept in front of the chariot of Lord Jagannath. This shows humility. These are physical activities we can do that help our minds become a little bit more humble. Sweep. And washing the pots. I remember when I was a new devotee, I hadn't fully joined it, but I was coming around, and one time the devotees asked me, they said that after a Sunday feast, they said that, can you help wash the dishes? And I thought, from a domestic background, I was going to go to the sink and wash a few dishes. But they led me out the back, and it was a big Sunday feast, a big mountain of pots. I always remember this. Big mountain of pots in pot black. And so they said, yes, can you wash those pots? And they said, we'll find someone else and we'll send someone else to help you. But no one else came, actually. And so I was there for about 4 hours washing those pots. And I ended up covered in black also, the pots rubbing all over me. But at the end, I was feeling very blissful because I had done such service, and that makes you very humble to wash the pots. I remember the one devotee, he came to our Melbourne temple when I was the president there, and he complained. He made a complaint to him. He was from big Brahmin family, and he made complaint. He said, they are asking me to wash the pots. He said, we are from Brahmin family. We don't wash the pots. Someone else is washing the pots. We are doing the puja. We're doing the yagya. We're doing these things. I said, yes, but now we are Vaishnavas. Prabhupada says here, actually, if one can become elevated to the position from this, we have to go to the society of Brahmanas and elevate it to the position of, I said, now Vaishnava Brahmana means it's always very humble. This is, we see our acharyas, how they're very humble. So now, when you're in the ISKCON, you have to be washing the pots. This is very good. This shows the example. This shows the example to the others, how you're doing such nice menial service. So all these things, we're not desiring, but Krishna, seeing the humility of the devotee, seeing how the devotee is doing very wonderful devotional service, gives him the blessings for more and more facility to engage in devotional service. It may come in the form of fame. Give that person more fame. Krishna gives the blessings to the devotee fame, so that others will know about this devotee and then follow in the footsteps of the devotee, and they're benefited. So Krishna sends fame following the devotee. The devotee is not seeking the fame, but Krishna is giving the blessing. Let that devotee. He's very humble. I will give him the fame, and even with the fame, he will remain humble. We have to be careful. Before we had nothing, then we got something, and then we became puffed up. So we have to be very careful. Great personalities pray. Like Lord Brahma, he prayed after he made the mistake of stealing the cows and the calves and the cowherd boys. And then he realized his mistake. He prayed to Krishna not to become puffed up by position, and he came as Haridas Thakur. So great devotees pray to be always humble, even in the face of fame. So Krishna can give fame. He can give high education. He can give money. He can give so much wealth. That's like we saw with Srila Prabhupada. He left India. He came to America. And what he had, like, what was it, 40 rupees or something. Imagine leaving India, coming over here to Australia or America. You got 40 rupees. And some cereal or something like that. He had his Bhagavatam, of course. But still, imagine. But, and then later on, Krishna gave him so many things, so many temples. So the devotee is not seeking these things and shouldn't actually seek these things. But here Maitreya Muni is actually saying that even if you want those things, but at the same time, on another level, he's saying that you will attain these things if you actually see the character of Dhruva Maharaj and how he remained humble, and then Krishna may bless you with all these types of things. So if you're thinking like to have these things, you should follow Dhruva Maharaj. So in both cases, you should follow Dhruva Maharaj. And so one should chant of the character and activities of Dhruva Maharaj, both in the morning and the evening. So this is very, very important to remember these pastimes. And Prabhupada goes on to say that it's especially recommended. He uses this phrase, especially recommended, that Dhruva Maharaj's character. The character means what are the qualities of such a person? What is the character? Now, one can have a lot of money. One can be very, very wealthy. But if his character is bad, or one can be very beautiful and handsome, but if the character is very bad, one can have high education, full of knowledge, but if your character is bad, if you're an awful person, no one wants to be with you. Hey, I am big PhD. But if you're a horrible person, who wants to know what is your PhD? You go somewhere with your PhD. We don't want to associate with you. Go over there with your PhD. We don't want to associate with you. I've got so much money. Why I have to sit down, subordinate before the guru? I can buy so many gurus. I don't like what this guru says, I'll get another guru. And when I find a guru who says what I like, then if I don't like, after a while I don't like it, I'll get another guru. I can buy many gurus. So, it's bad character. Prabhupada actually says, I remember in one purport, Prabhupada says, high learning and bad character go ill together. He actually uses that phrase. High learning, bad character go ill together. So bad character means materialistic character. And materialistic character, and it can be, just acting in the world, or you can be a very obnoxious person. And unfortunately in the Kali Yuga, due to the mode of ignorance and passion, people are quite often quite obnoxious. That there's so much hate. There's so much hate. Now everyone's complaining in all this social media. So it's just a platform for hate. You put out hate. The world is becoming filled with hate. You put out hate. You're full of hate, and you want to infect everybody else with hate also. And when others are infected with hate, then you're feeling more satisfied. But it just breeds more hate. Then you hate them, then they hate you, then you hate them more, then they hate you more. And just everything escalates. And to the level of hate, to the violence. And then there's so much violence. So everything escalates. Kali Yuga is like that. Because of ignorance, the effect of ignorance. It's pushing, and passion and ignorance. The goodness is less and less. So, but when the character is good, we see the character of Dhruva Maharaj is good. Now, we read that Dhruva Maharaj, he took action because his brother was killed by the Yakshas, wasn't Uttama? And Suruchi, his mother, Uttama's mother, went to look for him, and she was killed also, wasn't it, in the previous? She was killed also. So Dhruva Maharaj, as the king, he took the action. He took the action. It was his duty to take action. Prabhupada actually mentions that, not that he was hateful or angry, but he was thinking that it's my duty now. He's the prince, and his mother killed by Yakshas, so he thought that they must be punished, so he was punishing. But so anger is needed to do this punishing, and it arose and he was punishing. Then he was punishing too many of them, and what was it? Swayambhu and Manu came, and said, don't punish them. And it was who came? Kuvera came also, and he said he thanked him for not continuing, because the Yakshas are followers of the Kuvera. He's also Yaksha, and so Dhruva Maharaj just immediately desisted. So he was using the anger in the pursuit of his duty, but personally he wasn't hateful towards them. It was a matter of duty. But immediately he stopped. So one may question, we saw that in Dhruva Maharaj, what about that part of the character? But so we have to understand these activities very nicely. So good character is very important, developing good character. And of course that comes very nicely by a performance in devotional service. One's character becomes purified, and one becomes spiritualized. And here also one should chant the character and the activities. What are the activities of Dhruva Maharaj? So we try to follow in the footsteps of these great devotees. And here it is mentioned that when we hear about these things, we should hear them in the society of brahmanas. Here Prabhupada says brahmanas. What is the word here? Samavaye, in the association dvijanmanam, of the twice born. The twice born means that they've been initiated and trained very nicely in spiritual advancement. So anyone, and Prabhupada mentions here, anyone who comes to the Krishna consciousness can receive a second initiation, second birth. Doesn't matter where they come from. And he says that anyone can receive the initiation and be trained how to become qualified brahmanas and how to come to the position of the Vaishnavas, Vaishnava brahmanas. So this is, and yata kanchanatam jati kamsyam rasa vidana tata. What is it? Tata diksha vidana. Dvijatam jayate mrinam. Dvijatam jayatri ninam. Prabhupada quotes from Sanatana Goswami in Hari Bhakti Vilas. He says, just like the bell metal, when you know the process, when they mix there's a process, kamsya, there's a process that those who know it, the alchemists of the past knew the process, and they can get the bell metal. They mix it with mercury in a certain type of way, and they can produce gold. So Sanatana Goswami uses this example that someone who comes who's not very qualified, is not actually qualified to become a brahmana, but when one accepts initiation from the qualified guru, then they become gold. They become from the lesser metal to the gold. So one can become from the previous situation, they can become twice born. So it doesn't matter where they are coming from. Of course, you know, the brahmanas, of course, especially the smarter brahmanas, they were very strong on this point. Not only those who are in the Brahmin family. Certainly those in the Brahmin family, those who are coming up, they can take their second initiation, but also even those who are not. And no one is really qualified in the Kali Yuga. But if one receives proper initiation and the mantra from the bona fide spiritual master. Now, it is very important to take this second initiation. The first birth is from the parents, as Prabhupada says, and the second birth is from the guru and also the shastra. You get the guru will give you the instructions of the shastra. So a combination of receiving the mantra and then getting the transcendental knowledge is the second birth. Second birth. And one receives the initiation in this way, one is transformed to the position of brahmana, dvija, twice born. One becomes a dvija, and it doesn't matter the background, one becomes actually dvija. And I remember reading in Auckland, we were reading in the section about the Prachetas, how they met Lord Shiva. And the Prachetas had gone to do the tapasya under the water in a big lake. And they were going to offer prayers to Lord Vishnu to satisfy him. On the way they met Lord Shiva, who was all-knowing, and they were very overwhelmed to have the darshan of Lord Shiva. And he told them, I know what your intention is, and you are very good boys, and you want to do tapasya, and you want to offer prayers to the Supreme Lord Vishnu. But I have composed, I'm giving you some prayers that I have composed, and I want you to hear these prayers very attentively, and then use these prayers when you glorify Lord Vishnu. So it is recommended that especially beginning devotees, we offer prayers that have been composed by great devotees, because these prayers have been composed very articulately, eloquently, and also according to proper understanding of the position, the lila, and the different rasa of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One has to be careful. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would come and want to meet with Lord Chaitanya and show him their song that they had composed, or their poetry that they had composed, or their article that they had written. But he would always get Swarup Damodar Goswami to have a look at these things first. He wanted to make sure, and Swarup Damodar Goswami, a very elevated devotee, he didn't want to read anything that maybe was a rasabhasa, saying something that was not according to the actual rasa of the Supreme Personality God between Radha and Krishna. Someone may think they're very learned, but when they compose something, it is not quite correct. It's not quite correct. So this is like a rasa basa, or maybe you say something about the position of Krishna that's not quite correct. Maybe it's completely wrong, but you're presenting this as a very, very... There's a story of, I always remember this story of Jayadev Goswami, who had composed Gita Govinda, and very, very wonderful, and everyone was very enraptured with his Gita Govinda. But then there was one Brahmana there, one Panda, this is in Jagannath Puri, and he was very envious of the Jayadev, why he's getting so much praise, and this Gita Govinda, it is nothing. So he composed another one, and he called it Nava Gita Govinda, new Gita Govinda. And he was a big Brahmin scholar, and he composed it very articulately, everything. And he went to the king that why everyone is following the Jayadeva, why they're praising it. You know, this, just have a look at my work here. This is more correct and in higher position. So you know, no one should refer to the Jayadeva. They should refer to this one. And so the king said, well, I'm not a very expert, but let us take it to Lord Jagannath himself. And let Lord Jagannath decide. So the plan was that they would put the manuscripts before Lord Jagannath in the temple, both of them, Jayadeva Goswami and Big Panda, and then leave overnight. And then they came back the next morning, and they saw that Jagannath somehow or other, on his chest, the manuscript of Jayadeva Goswami, of Gita Govinda, he was holding it. And then they saw, thrown around the room, the Panda's manuscript, thrown around the room, as if Jagannath had completely rejected that one. So then the king knew, no, we're going to accept Jayadeva Goswami. Jagannath has made his decision. Because there's a very special leela, not that we should be perhaps doing these things, because anything's possible, Krishna can do everything. But this is a very special leela. So it is not a question of erudite scholarship, it's a question of devotion, and one can come up to the high position. Now, in this story of as I said, that the devotees always offer that you can offer a simple prayer, of course, a prayer to God. But if you want to offer something more elaborate, then it's always advised you chant the prayers already composed by very great devotees. They're composed very wonderfully, very eloquent, and just to the right rasa. Everything is good. Every morning, Govinda Madi Purusham Tam Ham Bhajami, the Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma. And during the month of the Kartik, Damodarashtaka, Satyavrata Muni, very beautiful prayer. We are chanting that. And I remember I was in Auckland, and the children of the school, that they invited me for the Govardhana Puja they had separately in their school, and they had learnt the Govardhan Astakam memorized. They'd been practicing for many weeks, for like a month, and one Mataji, who was very expert in the music and prayers and song, she had taught the children. And they were reciting from memory. Very wonderful. I was very impressed, because a lot of prayers, Govardhan Astakam, there's a lot of prayers. So these are prayers composed by great devotees, and we read these things. And Lord Shiva, he gave the prayers to the Prashadis, and because they were humble boys, very good boys, they accepted those prayers. They had some idea themselves to make the prayers, but Lord Shiva said, no, you use these prayers, and so they accepted. And then later on, Lord Vishnu came on riding on the back of Garuda, and he especially mentioned, I'm very happy with your tapasya, and I'm very happy that you chanted the prayers given to you by Lord Shiva. And he especially mentioned it. So Lord Vishnu was happy that they were praying using the prayers given by Lord Shiva. And Prabhupada actually mentioned in his purport there, he says that when some great personality personally chants the mantra, it becomes even more powerful, just like at initiation. And Prabhupada actually says here, I just remembered this purport. When a mantra is chanted by a great devotee, the mantra becomes more powerful. Although Hare Krishna mantra, Maha Mantra, is powerful in itself, a disciple upon initiation receives the mantra from his spiritual master, for when the mantra is chanted by the spiritual master, it becomes more powerful. Becomes more powerful. It's already powerful. So there are two things here. One thing is the Lord is very happy. The Lord is actually the personification of the Maha Mantra. That is, he is there personified in the Maha Mantra. That is Krishna. You know, when Prabhupada recited one prayer, he said, Krishna is dancing on your tongue when you say the Krishna, if you say very purely. Krishna can dance on your tongue. So he is Krishna. But when the devotee is chanting, Krishna becomes even more happy and manifests even more. That is one thing. Then, the devotee himself is very, very powerful. So you've got the... The devotee himself is very powerful. So you've got the power of the devotee plus the power of the mantra, plus Krishna is even. So, therefore, receiving the mantra in the initiation ceremony is more powerful. Therefore, one can question, why? Well, I'll just chant Hare Krishna. That is very good. Mantra is powerful. But how to chant nicely, how to chant purely, that is another thing. How to continuously chant. Anyone can chant and they will be benefit. How to continuously chant and how to chant on the topmost levels. That takes, that you get initiated by the Guru. And then initiated means then you get the training of the Guru. The initiation means that you agree to come under the auspices of the training of the Guru. And Prabhupada told us many occasions that I am just training you how to do the first class service for Radha and Krishna. So sometimes you're bringing me offerings and first class, but I am not in need, but I'm accepting on behalf of Radha and Krishna. And I'm training you how to cook the offering very nicely, how to do the good puja nicely, how to clean the temple nicely, how to distribute the books nicely. I'm training you because Krishna is first class. He used to say this. Because Krishna is first class, we have to become first class. And one time he said, Pavitram, pure. Krishna is Pavitram, pure. So to associate nicely with Krishna, we also have to become Pavitram. Otherwise, we cannot associate nicely. So if we want to associate nicely, we have to follow all these procedures and hear about that. See what is the character of Dhruva Maharaj. See what his activities were and recite these things. Therefore, Prabhupada goes on to say, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been organized for this purpose. I mean, Prabhupada could have just chanted, done programs everywhere, and not even formed the society. Mukunda Maharaj was telling us, he gave a class just a month or two ago, New Governor, and some disciples from India were asking him to tell again the story of how the International Society for Krishna Consciousness was formed. And although he had written it and spoke about it before, they wanted to get him on the video. So it was recorded. So he told the story that a few of us were there in the beginning, and Prabhupada called a few of us. There was only a few devotees in the beginning. And he called a few of us and he said that I want to make a legal society. I want to register a legal society here. And I want to call it the Internet. And so some made some suggestions what it could be called. Some said could call it the International Society for the God Consciousness. Prabhupada said no, must be the Krishna consciousness. And so Mukunda Maharaj was telling that he asked Mukunda Maharaj to help arrange it and get the lawyer and do whatever was necessary and actually get it registered. And he became the member and others just became the member. Practically they were calling this one and that one to become the members. And no one really knew. Mukunda Maharaj said that we all thought that it was just, well, the Swami, he's requesting this and we don't know exactly why he wants like this. But the Swami's requesting, so we'll organize it. And so they organized it. And he said, we all thought it was just going to be some little society registered in New York just for us here. And just be some little society, a few people would join, and this would be the International Society for Krishna Consciousness of New York. So little did we know it would go all over the world, and so many centers now. So he was telling that story. And so Prabhupada specifically organized, he wanted a society, and here he goes on to say that I'd been organized for this purpose, so people can have a place, a regular place where they can come and hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, do kirtan, associate with devotees in a regular place, and just without much endeavor, something is already there, and come and specifically for this purpose, for hearing and chanting. Here, Maitreya Muni says if you recite the pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj in the morning and evening, and Prabhupada says, yeah, morning and evening, good, but in our temples it should be going on all day. Some sort of seva, some sort of service should be going on all day. So when this is going on nicely, then of course the temples will be very pleasing and peaceful. So this should be our temple, very pleasing and peaceful. If it's not peaceful and pleasing, then we have to make sure it becomes pleasing and peaceful by more enhanced devotional activities. It can be kirtan, can be so many different types of activities. When one is doing so many nice devotional activities, then automatically there'll be a nice spiritual atmosphere. And then anyone who comes will feel the atmosphere. will feel that. But just like when you come in the temple, sometimes I come in the afternoon when, it's very quiet, but still some are coming in, they're just sitting before Radha Gopinath, and you can feel the nice presence here taking the darshan in the temple room, how Radha Gopinath is blessing everyone by their presence here. And then, of course, Radha Gopinath came with Srila Prabhupada all those years ago, 1971, they came here. They were the first deities of Australia. And they came with Srila Prabhupada with his devotees. And they were just carrying on the plane, and they came. You read the story about Radha Gopinath. So they've been blessing us for so many decades here in Sydney. And then that expanded, of course, Radha Ballabha in Melbourne with the second, and Radha Giridhari in Auckland, or the third that actually came directly with Prabhupada and his entourage. So Radha Giridhari, even from Auckland, they came here first, and Jagatarini was one of the ones that she took Radharani and Krishna to Auckland. And so there's a lot of history. So we're getting the blessings here that Radha and Krishna is here, and in the temples, all these activities. And here, Prabhupada says that when these things are done, it is very quickly effective. Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Devotion, he uses the word, if one wants to make a rapid advancement. I mean, one can chant Hare Krishna and one benefited. One can do some devotional activities, they benefit. But if you want to make rapid advancement, then you'll continuously do these types of activities, always chanting, associating with nice devotees, and hearing these pastimes in the Srimad Bhagavatam, just like Dhruva Maharaj. Then everything will be nice. Prabhupada does talk about this second initiation and associating, and he goes on to say that unfortunately this is not going on in the world. Mainly the education is for technology these days. If you can, this is very much promoted, technology. I remember years ago Prabhupada said this, he had such foresight. He said, Prabhupada said that modern advancement means one man, he invents some new machine, but 100 others are put out of work. So that man becomes very rich, and everyone else loses their job. He said that is modern progress. So we see these days that so many people have become very wealthy, multi-billionaires, but so many others, just like a devotee was telling me the other day, that with this AI, and so many people are going to go out of work. Of course, those who are in the AI, they're defending, so many more will come into the work from the AI. They're defending on that side. But even and Prabhupada had the foresight years ago. He said that is the modern technology. Modern technology means that one person creates something, he becomes the others, so many other hundreds and thousands, they go out of the work. So there has to be a balance. And unfortunately, the emphasis is not a balance. The emphasis is just on these things, how to become a technologist. But he says, Prabhupada says, he is no more than a big Sudra. Why? Because they're very intelligent, obviously, to have the degree in this type of a field. You need intelligence. But spiritually speaking, this type of intelligence is called superficial. It's a superficial intelligence, how to make the bridge, how to make the building, how to do the IT, how to do the AI. It's a superficial. The deep intelligence comes from Dvija, twice born. To become Brahmana, to become Vaishnava. This is deeper intelligence, spiritual philosophy. That takes deeper intelligence. To make spiritual advancement is intelligence on the spiritual platform. It is not of the material world, actually. It may seem similar, but it's actually not. It is called deeper intelligence, sumedasa, very intelligent, but on the spiritual. People are very intelligent in so many ways, but superficial. So therefore, they're actually called less intelligent. So someone could take offense, well, why are we less intelligent? We've got so many degrees, and we're so educated. Why is Prabhupada calling us less intelligent? But you're less intelligent because you haven't come to the platform of spiritual intelligence. So if you haven't come to that platform, no matter what you have, whether you have wealth, education, so many things, you're not considered intelligent. And therefore, if you haven't come to this position of Dvija, twice born, then you're a Sudra. Papa talks about Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and the Sudras. Generally they don't take the second initiation in the caste system. But of course the Daivi Varnashram and those who take up the Panchatriki system and come to the Vaishnava platform, doesn't matter where they're from, as we said earlier, even though Prabhupada quotes here, Kalo Sudra Sambhava, he said basically everyone's Sudra, but if they take up the path, they get properly initiated, then they become Vaishnava. Then they're not Sudra anymore. But as long as one stays on that level, they won't be able to really understand what is the spiritual knowledge. They won't really be able to understand about Radha and Krishna. This takes a subtleness of consciousness that is not available to those who are completely absorbed in material consciousness. They may have a superficial external appreciation, but to go deep in it, one needs to come to the position of second birth and have the mercy of the Vaishnavas, have the mercy of the Guru, have the mercy of Radha and Krishna. And so this is the movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and in the end of his purport, Prabhupada actually does say here, the Krishna conscious movement has been started especially to create qualified brahmanas, and then he goes on to say to broadcast spiritual knowledge all over the world. So there's many missions in the greater mission to create a place where people can come and hear and chant and engage in seva, and then also to broadcast this message all over the world. So Prabhupada stresses on this point, broadcast spiritual knowledge all over the world. This is the mood of Lord Chaitanya, especially in the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. The mood of Lord Chaitanya wanted everyone to have the benefit of the Krishna consciousness all over the world, regardless of their position. And so we are members of the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so this is the request of Lord Chaitanya and all the acharyas, and the real purpose of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So thank you very much for attending the Srimad Bhagavatam class. I'll read this again. The great sage Maitreya recommended one should chant of the character and activities of Dhruva Maharaj both in the morning and in the evening with great attention and care in a society of brahmanas or twice-born persons. So does anyone have any questions or comments? Yes. Well, Maitreya Muni, he doesn't say how much one should do. One should chant of the character and activities of Dhruva Maharaj both in the morning and the evening. So any amount of chanting of the character and activities is good. Prabhupada goes on, of course, in his purport, he said all day long. But this would be in addition, not in place of chanting. Oh, well, this is why we need Guru. Because one can say, oh, well, here in the Bhagavatam, this verse says we should just in the morning. So we're swapping the kirtan in the morning and we're just going to read this now. No. In addition to the regular programs in the temple, you can read yourself. It's not that every morning we're going to be reading this Srimad Bhagavatam verse. So the understanding is in addition to having our regular program in the temple, which Prabhupada says, and devotional activities which can go on all day long, in addition, some time in the morning if you can read this, and sometime in the evening. Of course, there's other places where the acharyas, like Maitreya or Sukadev Goswami, says if one just reads this pastime in the morning, one remembers this pastime. So there's so many things we can do. So as much as possible, I think the spirit of the instruction is as much as possible. In the morning is always good, it's an auspicious time. In the evening before we go to bed, so when we go to bed we're remembering these things. We can even be coming out and our mind in the night time even, and even in sleeping. So that's why morning and evening is an auspicious time. And the first thing, very auspicious, and the last thing in the day, they'll be very good. I remember, I'm still doing, maybe in the morning before the regular program, if perhaps you've got some time after you finish your japa, or perhaps you rise early in the morning, you can do these extra activities. Yes. You avoid doing services like, I, I didn't hear what you said. I've got this fan here. Oh, give us pride, give us pride. Well, I mean, any service is good. I mean, it's purifying. So even to use that type of term is not quite correct. Service that give us pride. The service is purifying. Yeah, I remember Prabhupada. One time he said this. He said that someone asked him, "Is eating too much prasadam bad, Prabhupada?" Then he thought for a moment. He said that eating prasadam can never be bad. It is always good. He said, but eating too much perhaps is not very good. I can never call it bad because it is prasadam. But eating too much may not be very good for you and your body. Yes, but what are those? Now, any type of service is good. But we're mindful that sometimes we're offered a big position, for example, and therefore we're praying, because I've been offered this big position to oversee others, perhaps to do this big type of service, that I don't become. You pray that I don't become proud of myself in this position. So you pray like that. It's not that you should be choosing and picking, I'm going to do that one. Or if you've had an experience that when you did that service previously, you became puffed up. Maybe you were just not mature enough and you became puffed up. You could consider that, no, I think that Prabhu, if you don't mind, can I do a more menial service? Because my previous experiences, I did that service and I became very puffed up, I became offensive, I became a bad person. And so I will just mop the floor or wash the pots. And that's more for me. So that could be a consideration. But you should never consider this service or that service to be giving pride. The service itself doesn't. Just your consciousness may become a little negative. Yes, ma'am. The what? The parents, yeah. Is it enough? Oh, you mean it's part of the initiation process? No, the Prabhupada broke it into two. It's all part of the initiation. First initiation and then second initiation is all part of the Dvija. Technically speaking, in the Brahmin initiation is when you receive the Gayatri. That is you're twice born with the Gayatri, but you've accepted the Guru in the first initiation, so that is like a second birth also. So both is correct. On a more technical level, the receiving the Gayatri mantra is the Dvija, but and normally in the previous times, they would receive the Gayatri at initiation. That it would be Dvija. But Prabhupada, just to prepare the disciples a little bit before receiving the Gayatri mantra, would give them Harinam first to purify them. But that was considered part of the initiation, part of the Dvija. So in one sense, your Dvija, and you have to finish your Dvija in your second. You still have to finish the process of your second birth. Is all right? Yes, in the back. I have to speak in a loud voice. You have to do struggling. Yeah, that is the balancing that will be. As long as you're following, especially if you're initiated devotee, you're following the 16 rounds every day, you're engaging in the devotional service, can be in the temple, can be in your home, and you're avoiding the sinful activities. You're doing all these activities, and then you have to do your duty in the world while you're living in the world. You're doing that to the best of your ability, simultaneously practicing your Krishna consciousness. And even at the work, you can be, during your break, you can be doing some chanting. You can do these things. So the balancing will be different for each person. And so you just take some advice according to your specific situation, how I can balance my life a little bit more from the more senior devotees. They can give some advice. But, you can see the senior devotee, you can read in the Shastra. But the main thing is you just always do the chanting. Prabhupada said if you can do some before you go to the work, you're working outside? Yeah. So you can do some before you go to the work that will put you right in your chanting, and that will be very helpful. Of course, in the work there may be very stressful situations. And I remember Prabhupada gave a description one time that he would go to work, and then during the break he would chant 4 rounds. And then later on he would chant another 4 rounds during the break time. So you can do all sorts of activities. Of course, when you're doing the work, you have to concentrate on doing the work. Yeah, well, you have to do all these things. So all these things have to be there. It's not that one or the other. So I have to become expert how to do all these things simultaneously. Prabhupada was very expert at doing so many things together, so many different types of services. And so you have to become expert. You pray to Krishna, how I can do all these things that still remain fixed in your devotional service, and Krishna will give you intelligence how to do it. You do it praying. What about? What's it? Other? Oh yeah, yeah. She mentioned some Purana there. Yeah, well, I mean, what are those literatures? I mean, everyone reads so many literatures, but the best literatures to read are these literatures. Srimad Bhagavatam, the spotless Purana, it just talks about very high-level literature. There are literatures and there are literatures, and so if you're intelligent, you'll pick the best of the literatures, the best of the punya shloka. The word is used there, punya, the highest of the literatures. So you use your intelligence how to pick the best, how to pick the best devotees to associate with. You're respectful to all the devotees, but you want to associate with the best devotees. You want to go in the kirtan and have the best of the kirtan. So you have to see these things. So the literatures which give you more devotion, these are the best ones to read. If you're reading one literature is giving you more devotion to Krishna, that's a very good one to read. So she doesn't want one? So it may be very nice to read that, of course, but these things are best explained by the acharyas, the gurus. When we do to read these things by ourselves, there may be very nice pastimes and so on, but the explanation of how to understand these pastimes is even more beneficial when we read the purports given by great acharyas. Not like Prabhupada gave his purport, he was consulting the commentaries of so many other gurus who were also commenting on this verse. So therefore, just like he did Krishna book, amazing. Krishna book, he wrote the whole thing He wasn't sure whether he was going to complete the Bhagavatam, so he put the Krishna book and incorporating all the commentaries in the storyline as well. So these things are best understood through the acharyas, and especially the recent. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives us advice that we understand with the more recent acharyas, because they are more kala patradesh, the time, place, and circumstance. The previous acharyas, the basic principle will be the same, but how to apply it may be different from the Satya Yuga or the other yugas or this, that, the other thing. The recent acharyas can present it, how to apply it in the modern age. So, it's a question of this, all these, if they're actually shastras, if they're actually telling story of Radha and Krishna, but what you have to see what is the authenticity of this shastra, whether it's something that has been embellished, or whether it's a true story. There's many different stories. If you're from India, you know that sometimes the story is not quite correct. So therefore we stick to the ones that are authorized by our acharyas, that they know which are the ones that are presenting correctly the understanding and not only the actual story itself. And sometimes there's changed story or just this, that, the other thing. Of course it may not be. It may be all very well and good, but there's a little bit of a risky there, you know what I mean? A little bit of a risk. All right, I think the last question. Well, I mean, if you want to improve your japa, you have to take the necessary steps to how the acharyas explain how to improve your japa. Then you have to see about your quality of service, as I said, there can be a guru aparad, there can be Vaishnava aparad, there can be a seva aparad, so you have to be engaging in devotion. It's a question of becoming purified. You have to purify your life, and then your japa will improve just naturally. So you have to see how you're living your life. If you're living your life in such a way that is mixed up with a lower type of consciousness, then the japa will be a little bit impeded. But if you're living your life in a more higher level of a spiritual consciousness, then japa, and one thing feeds into the other thing. Japa will become good, will make the lifestyle better, and the lifestyle will make the japa better, so on and so forth. And so, and then Lord Chaitanya says two things: always do the chanting, and always associate with the devotees. So try to do the chanting in association of devotees as much as possible. Come to the temple. That's why Prabhupada says here. That's why I've created these temples, so you can come and do the japa. So of course we have to do by ourselves most of the time, especially we're working. But if we can come to the temple and the devotees are chanting, you go to the holy dham and doing the japa there. All very wonderful. There's been so many activities to do to improve. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nittai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo.
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके कृष्णे स्वधाम उपगते धर्मज्ञानादिभिः सह कलौ नष्टदृशामेतात्